and welcome to Nelson All Over Cards. Today, I'm very excited because I have Tony Fanchi, one of the designers of Marvel Champions, here to talk about designing Marvel Champions. So, how are you doing, Tony?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm super excited because I love this game, and it's always fun to talk about someone who makes something that you love. And so I think today what we're going to be doing is kind of just talking about you, your design philosophy, get some of your favorites, your favorite heroes and all that good stuff, get an understanding of what those are. And yeah, so can you kick us off and just tell us a little bit about you, who you are, and what you do at FFG?
So I'm a senior game designer. I've been with FFG since 2016. This Working on Marvel Champions is kind of my first foray into the card game side of FFG's catalog. Previously, I worked on the board game side where I worked on titles such as Imperial Assault, Star Wars Outer Rim, and Unfathomable.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I have not played any of those except for Imperial Assault, and I had a lot of fun with that. But with FFG, I'm sorry, I guess it's all FFG. With Marvel Champions, the you kind of came on, you helped with the Mutant Genesis, and then the first thing that you had lead design on was the Mojo Mania pack, correct?
Yep, that's right.
Cool. I love that pack. I think the three scenarios like campaign, the short style campaign was really cool. It had some really interesting like decisions with how much threat you can take to put stuff out there. Really cool designs. Also, the mod sets in Mojo Mania are my go-to mod sets. I love them. They're favorite. Real quick before we get into it, do you have a favorite of those six? Because they're all based off of different TV genres. Do you have a favorite of
Yep.
those?
Yeah. Yeah. It was a real joy putting together those mod sets. I always love putting pop culture references into my games, and so that basing a pack on basically television tropes was an awesome thing to design. If I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably have to go with the sitcom one, just because
Okay.
it's so out there and
Yeah,
and different from any other mod set in the game. And Watch Me Play is probably my favorite card that I've designed to date.
that's the Deadpool one, correct?
That's the Deadpool one.
Where you discard it when you look up a rule.
Well, you are confused when you look up a rule.
Yes, that's right. Which is super meta and very on theme for Deadpool. And I usually get that card out pretty quickly because I'm always looking up rules. But yeah,
Yeah,
which
it's so it can do nothing if you know the rules pretty well, or are just determined not to look anything up and just keep plowing ahead. Uh,
yep.
but I recently saw discussion online about what the peril keyword means on that card, and I just loved that because all those people are going to have to be confused.
Yep, and they're gonna have to look at. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, they're gonna have. Oh yes, perfect. Oh my goodness, yeah. My favorite's probably fantasy. I love the theme as well as just the interactions. It's always fun to draw more cards, and there's a lot of that in that kit.
Yeah,
So
getting the rewards for those encounter cards is a really fun aspect of the fantasy set.
yeah, I mean, Dragon is always fun to see, but probably my favorite card out of that entire pack is Fetch Quest.
Yep.
Just like the Comes in with a lot of threat on it, doesn't really do anything, but if you dedicate
No, it,
time it can have some really awesome payoff. And that I think Fetch Quest is probably my favorite card out of that pack.
it's almost a progenitor to the player side quests in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Which is something else that you are introducing to the world of Marvel Champions because you are taking lead design on Next Evolution, which is the next big box, the next wave. And
Mhm.
so when you're doing the box, are you also lead designer for the entirety of the wave at that point, or how does that
Yeah,
work?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The lead designer takes the entire wave, which includes any hero packs or scenario packs. My involvement in Mojo Mania was a little bit different because that scenario pack wasn't something that Caleb and Boggs had planned from the get go for that wave. It was kind of a late addition to the schedule, and it was a great opportunity for me to dip my toe into the Marvel Champions waters and get a taste of what it's like to design for the game.
Nice. Nice. Well, it was a hit as far as I'm concerned. So
Thank you.
let's talk about Marvel Champions a little bit. So, new to the design side, I assume you've played it before a couple of times,
Yeah,
maybe.
I've been play testing with Caleb and Boggs since they were working on the core set, so
Oh
I'm
wow,
well
yeah,
familiar with the game. Yeah.
awesome. So, out of all of them that we have, which I think is at least all of them that I have, I think it's 43 heroes now. 41, 43, around that number. Of the released ones, which one is your favorite Marvel Champions hero?
It's tough because there's so many good ones. I don't want to leave anybody out, but one of the ones I gravitate towards often would be Ironheart.
Oh
I
yeah,
really like her design. The feeling of you trying to get those progress counters so you can level up and become more powerful is something that no other hero has done in exactly the same way, and I really enjoy that element of her kit.
yeah. When I first saw that she had those three cards, I'm like, what is happening? Like this is crazy. And you see that version 3, her stats are like a 3-2-3 at that point, and you're just like,
Yeah,
what is going on? No,
six
she
hand sides too. Yeah,
six hand size in hero form, just completely a monster when
yeah,
she's all the way leveled up. That is really fun. And one of the things that I enjoy about Marvel Champions is these epic feelings, and she absolutely provides those. Where it's like, okay, we're just gonna spray with 40 damage because we've built up all these counters over the last couple of rounds and stuff. So really cool,
yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
So with next evolution, actually no, let's talk about Marvel just in general. Is there a favorite not necessarily champions, but is there a favorite hero that you have from the Marvel universe?
Sure. So when I was a teenager back in the 90s, I was collecting comic books at the time, and I was primarily a Spider-Man and an X-Men reader.
Okay.
And so Peter Parker would be up there definitely. Gambit and Rogue were my favorite of the X-Men. And so they are characters who have a special place in my heart. In doing research for the next evolution, I really came to appreciate Domino's character and reading the way that Gail Simone wrote her for her own self-titled book just a few years ago. I want to say like 2018, 2019. I really enjoyed that series as well. So Domino's another character that I really like.
Awesome. And so growing up you collected the comics. Is that something that you have continued to do, or is that something that's kind of resurged after you've joined the design team for Champions?
I fell off of it when I about the time that I started college, just didn't have the money to keep up with it. But since I joined the Marvel Champions team, I've dived headfirst into reading all the comics I can and it's kind of great to be paid for reading comics, but it's
Nice.
research. I gotta learn these characters
There you
so
go.
I can portray them as well as I can. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Nice. Okay, so can you talk to me about your design process? Like what does that look like when let's narrow our focus a little bit and let's talk about heroes. And if we want to talk about a specific hero, we absolutely can. But like you've read the comics, you understand the thematics of the character. What is the design process of taking that and marrying that to mechanics in a Marvel Champions like hero?
So there's no really set process. But in general, what I do is I put together a list of like elements of that character, like superpowers they have, characters they often interact with, people who might be supports for them, people who might be allies for them, uh, things that I can represent in card form. And then I will look to so when we first set out to design a wave, we put together what we call a vision document, which basically outlines the high level elements of the design, and that includes some mechanical design. So even from that point, I have some idea of what their mechanical hook is going to be. And so generally, that is determined in a discussion between myself and Caleb and Michael Boggs back when he was on the team. Molly Glover, our producer, is also a huge comics fan, and she loves to weigh in on those discussions. So even if I don't know the character super well myself, between the group, between the team, we have a pretty good idea of what the character's high level shtick is all about, and then doing research, I can then fine tune what the specifics of that hero are going to look like, what their events are going to be, what their upgrades are going to be, and then fit those with the mechanical abilities that will fit the idea that we came up with for how this hero will play.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And I love that it feels like the entire team kind of revolves and does the same thing where they really do want to tie thematics to mechanics. And I
Yeah,
think I can speak on the majority of the community's behalf saying that we really appreciate that. Um,
yeah, it's really important that we capture the feel of being these heroes and make it feel like you are this person in the Marvel universe. So that's really the crux of the game. It would be a solid game even without the theme, but with the theme, I think it just takes it to a completely other level.
totally. Totally. So it sounds fairly collaborative. Is there something
Mm-hmm.
that you do maybe differently than the rest of the team, or something new that you brought to the team in the design space?
Um, I not that I can really think of. Um, I think my strong suit is just kind of an attention to detail and to language. And so I think what I bring to the team is really honing in on getting our language consistent, making sure that it ties in with previous abilities who do very similar things so that we try to minimize the number of rules questions and things that come up along the way. Um, and yeah, in terms of yeah, that's what I'd say I bring to the team. That I wouldn't say. I mean, I don't want to say Caleb or Boggs weren't bringing that, but it's just an extra level of polish. And it's also good to get somebody who is has fresh eyes on the game. Those guys were working on it from the core set, and so anytime you've been working on a project for a long time, you kind of get blinders a little bit.
Oh
You
yeah.
know what you meant to do with the card in your brain, and so making sure that everybody else knows the same thing can be a challenge at times.
Oh, I'm sure. This is a great bridge because you being the attention to detail person, one of the things that you took on and just completed is rules reference 1.5, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep.
That seems like a big project.
It was, yeah. It took me, I want to say, 4 to 6 weeks of basically full time work, updating that rules reference, and then another couple of months where I was working on it part time on the side, as I was getting feedback from Caleb, from our rules specialist Alex Werner, from our play testers. Lots of people put their eyes on that document and made it the best that it can be for this release. But obviously, there's always going to be things that slip through, elements that we don't think about, card interactions that we don't remember. And so it really is a living document, and it's something that we intend to keep updating as the game continues to be produced.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the 1.5 update. I think that it clarified so many things that were kind of like, it does this work like this? And now pretty much
Mm-hmm.
anything, any question that I have, I can look it up and find that answer, especially that timing chart. I'm sure you've heard before, but the timing chart right there in the beginning that outlines the order of operations for interrupts, responses, and everything that kind of goes on. I joke with one of the other streamers that I need to get it really big printed out and put it up on the wall but behind the camera so I can just have it, maybe project it, because I mean that it's a great chart. It's a really good chart.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Playability and readability was really at the top of the list for what we wanted to accomplish in 1.5. 1.4 was also a really big update, and Michael Boggs did a great job spearheading that effort. But there were a lot of things that came up in the 2 years since that last update was done, and there's there are just so many cards in this game. I want to say I counted out almost 2,000 textually unique cards in the game
that's
that have
crazy.
so many interactions that It's really impossible to cover everything, but I tried to be as thorough and as exhaustive as I could so that people could figure out those corner cases on their own without needing to write in to us. But obviously, if people do have questions that aren't resolved in the rules reference, they can certainly contact us through the Fantasy Flight Games website.
Yep, it's a link I've used before. Uh, so like with all of this work, like 4 to 6 weeks of full time work, months part time work, what would you say your biggest takeaway or the biggest learning experience from creating or modifying and creating this new 1.5 rules reference would be?
Uh, just how much there is in this game, just how many tiny interactions there are. Making sure that like the steps of even resolving a boost card was something that it was in the rules, and you could certainly play the game from the rules, but making sure that we had a stepwise process for that so players know exactly when this interrupt happens, when this response happens, is this card still in play, when do I discard it, all that kind of thing, was really the biggest thing that I noticed in working on it, was just getting all those things defined and stepped out as clearly as possible.
Absolutely makes sense. What was your favorite? Because there were a couple things that got changed, there were a couple things that got errated, and there's a lot of resources that we're not going to go over every single new piece of text in that document. That'd be a while. But what was your favorite thing that got changed? And maybe it's for the overall state of the game, or maybe even to open up design space for future. What is something that you're really happy with what got changed?
Um, Probably the setup chart, which
Yeah.
sounds really strange, because you would think that, oh, I've played hundreds of games of this, I should know how to set it up. But it's funny that when I started working on the design, and even as I was putting together the rules for Next Evolution, I had a different understanding of when campaign setup happened to when Caleb thought it happened. Um, so the rules in, I believe it was Red Skull, established that setup happens after scenario setup, which
Mhm.
you can either determine that as being all setup or the setup of the scenario cards. I thought it was the former, but it was actually the latter. It happens after just the scenario stuff happens.
Oh, okay.
And so we established that, and given the comments I've seen online, that was not clear to a lot of people which way it was supposed to go. So that is now established. Uh, the order that you do villains and scenario setup was also ambiguous.
Hmm.
And that is a very important thing for the Mr. Sinister scenario. So I wanted to make sure that that was codified in the rules so that players are setting up that scenario correctly as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I see. I think I interpreted it the same way that you did, and so
Mm-hmm.
so it even goes to
Yeah.
show it. Like
Yep. Yep.
there's a lot of ways that you can interpret it, which does have major implications on the current scenarios, and it sounds like
Right.
even some of these future scenarios that we're going to be getting
Mm-hmm.
soon. Oh, that's
Yeah.
really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness.
Is Shawarma in my deck when I draw my opening hand?
Right.
No, it is, which is even awesomer.
Yeah, yeah. And
Optimism.
then one of the things that, what was it? I think it was in Mutant Genesis where, yeah, because in Mutant Genesis, because you can take off aspect cards and put them into your deck based on your role, which
Mm-hmm.
love that by the way. Um, I think I was playing it where those cards were not in my deck before Mulligan and everything, and it was
Right.
just like,
Yeah.
well, it's kind of a key
Yeah.
part now. I kind of built my
Yeah.
deck around.
Creates some weirdness. So yes, having the rules do the scenario, do the campaign setup where it is, I think does make it a lot. It's a lot more intuitive. Like, if I'm building my deck beforehand with these special off aspect cards, with the special cards that Sinister Motives lets me put in my deck, now I can just shuffle up at the start, and all
Yeah.
of that stuff is in there. I don't have to draw my hand, do my mulligan, then shuffle things
Yep.
in. It saves extra hassle there.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's great. And then also, I know everyone's really myself included, really happy with the new setup changes with the heroes and how that all works. So you can't lose key pieces of the kit
Yep.
like claws
Yep.
and everything. And so that
Mhm.
I think just providing insight as well as just clarification to all of that is was really nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So back to design. So you are lead designer for some number of heroes. What I think I can safely assume is six, the hero
Hmm.
packs and the two that come in the kit, as well
Yep.
as five villains that we know of so far. Do you have more fun designing the heroes or the villains?
Oh, that's a tough question because they each have their own pros and cons. Villains are a little more freeing because they're mostly self-contained, like outside of
Mm,
modular sets.
mm-hmm.
I don't need to worry about what this crazy card in Juggernaut or Mr. Sinister does in other scenarios. I can just make this kind of a bomb crazy off the wall card for this scenario, and as long as it works in this scenario, it's all good. Whereas heroes, you really they could be played in any scenario using any aspects. Designing them is takes a lot of careful consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Designing aspect cards takes even more consideration because they can go into so many hero decks and have such a huge impact on the meta of the game going forward that they really need to be very well tested. And we have great playtesters who really put these cards through their paces. So I like the freeing element of the villain being able to do crazy things, but trying to capture the essence of a hero in a 15 card kit is also really a really awesome thing to do to try to capture that essence in just that small number of cards. I love that this game has the hero kits compared to something like Lord of the Rings. The Living Card Game was a game I had played for many years and was a favorite of mine. But trying to capture the hero in just a single card is so much more difficult than
Yeah.
doing so in a kit. I feel like we can really flesh out the characters a lot more having all these cards to work with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And because I also play Lord of the Rings. I won't touch on it too much, but yeah, like the feeling behind Marvel Champions, because it almost also feels to me like you're almost undertaking that hero's journey with a lot of the scenarios that you can play. Because when you start out, it very much in, I guess, most cases. There are a couple where you don't build out, right? But you're like Iron Man, you get to build a suit. Ironheart, you're building up, and like you get to make the feel that you're ramping, which feels very on theme for that character because you have the 15 cards that you can work with. And
Mhm.
that's a really cool. And okay, so my next question, you can tell me to shut up if I'm pushing too much. But out of the five villains, which one are you most excited about? Or the five scenarios, I should say, because we have a lot more than five villains in this box.
Yeah, yep. With the Marauders, we have
Yeah,
quite a few more. I think I'm most excited for Juggernaut. I know that's a villain that a lot of people have been looking forward to for a long time, and he really feels like a great straight up brawl, and
yeah,
I think players have a lot of fun with him.
yeah. I have already started talking to a couple of people just on Discord and wherever, on strategies about Juggernaut because
Hmm.
he like he hits so hard, like,
He
and you have to
does, yeah.
figure out how to survive that. Um,
Yeah. If there's one thing I love to do in my scenario designs, it's punish chump blocking because I feel like allies are such a powerful part of this game that I don't want to change the rules because I think they work fine. I think they work great. I just want to make sure that if you're throwing your allies under the bus, you get punished for it. And so giving Juggernaut like overkill, having Magog get his ratings counters every time he smacks one of your allies. I love punishing that kind of gameplay and making players approach the game, approach different scenarios in
yep,
a different way than they normally would.
yep. Which is, I think, just really good design because for so long the chump blocking, There's very very few allies that I wouldn't use that last health to just throw it in front of the villain, which
Mhm.
strategically makes a lot of sense. Thematically, maybe for some heroes, but
Yeah.
but having that overkill, having ways to tech against that. The other thing that I really am looking forward to for the Juggernaut scenario is the you don't necessarily lose when you reach that threat cap. And so
Yeah.
it's another scenario that I believe the main scheme pops or is capped at 7 per player, right? Similar to Rhino.
I think so. I think it
Okay.
is. I think it's also 7.
But like if it reaches 7, very bad things happen. Juggernaut's
Hmm.
coming for you, but
Yeah.
you reset it and you don't lose. And so from a player who plays mainly true solo, seeing a lower threat cap scenario where I have at least the option to roll down and probably not immediately lose, I think is a really
Hmm.
cool design space. So what kind of brought that idea around?
Um, I think it was largely just that I Juggernaut feels like the kind of guy who he's not trying to accomplish his scheme, and within the story he's not the mastermind, he's not the brains of the scenario, he's just there to put you in the ground. And so having him not actually automatically win by completing his scheme was just a part of that. He's going to come to your home, he's going to find you in your apartment where you're recuperating, and he's going to punch you in the face. So uh,
Yep.
it can often be game ending, but there is that chance that you survive that blow.
Nice. Oh yeah. No, I think Juggernaut. That's the one. So I did like a roundtable discussion with a couple of other creators where we walked
Mhm.
through kind of the thematics and the mechanics of what we had seen so far. And
Yeah.
I headed up Juggernaut just because I was super excited about what he is and just like the design space that kind of we see a little bit more of where the game can go with, you don't lose if the main scheme threats out and stuff like that. I just thought that was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So same question, but for the heroes of the ones that we have seen so far. So that is, hold on, let me see if I can do this. Domino, Cable, Psylocke, and Angel. Those are the four
Mhm.
that we've seen so far. Which one of those four are you most excited for to get into people's
You
hands?
keep making me pick between my children. It's brutal. Um, it's a Sophie's choice.
Right. Yep.
If I had to pick one, I'd probably have to say Domino.
Mm,
Um, she was, I want to say she was the very first hero I worked on.
mm,
I started, it was either her or Cable. I kind of worked on them at around the same time, but Domino was just one I was really excited to go after. Uh, Trying to capture her luck ability in a way that didn't feel just completely random was a challenge, and I certainly went through a couple of different designs before I landed on the one that I ended up with. Um, but the I was very pleased with the end result of that, and my she was one of my playtesters' favorite heroes to play as well, and so I think she's gonna really make a splash on the scene when she drops.
yeah. And again, we've just kind of been talking about all the ways that she can play her, like because she has the manipulation of what can go back on top of her deck, and it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean in terms of like recursion of specific cards or finding these specific cards? You're discarding. Oh no, they're Domino's pistols, or I think that's what they're called. Yeah, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, but now you can get them back, and so it just feels like a very procedural hero, and I mean that in the best way possible because I love those types of heroes. Trying to figure out exactly where you need to place damage, what you need to do in order to make her just sing, and so I'm really looking forward to Domino as well.
Yeah, yeah, and every time you hit that jackpot, it just feels so good.
Yes, yes. Okay, so we've talked about the favorites. What in your mind, or what at the end of the day, when you see Domino or you see any of the heroes or villains you've designed, what says that is a successful design to you?
So there's a number of things. First and foremost, obviously, is fun. Is this hero, is this scenario fun to play? Because if it checks all the other boxes but not that one, you got a problem. But beyond that, uh, for uh, for both heroes and scenarios, is this a unique play style? Does this feel different from anything else? And does it capture the feel of this character that we're portraying?
Mm,
Those are really the biggest check marks that need to be made for any hero and any scenario.
yeah. And are you getting that feedback from your playtesters, or how do you know that you succeeded, I guess?
That's a good question because certainly I play everything myself, and I often, as much as I can, I like to play with other people at the table so I can watch them, see them, whether they're looking happy, whether they're really thinking hard and really enjoying the decisions that they're making, or versus being frustrated or confused about things. And those are the best ways of receiving feedback. But also, my playtesters are great at talking about not just, oh, this card is too strong or I never play this card, but they do a great job of saying this character doesn't quite capture the feel of this hero. I feel
Mm,
like this might be better. This might be a little more in theme. Uh, this is this decision is kind of rote. It gets a little boring, or this hero plays the same way every time. How can we shake things up and make it a little different? That is all excellent feedback, and basically once the vast majority of the playtesters are like, this is great, print it, that's when I know we've struck gold.
there you go. Nice. That's awesome. That's really fun to hear. I feel like Marvel Champions is in a really good spot right now, right? We just got the new rules reference update. We have new heroes. We have the next evolution, and all of the goodies that come with that coming out. Um, New encounters, all of that good stuff. What is the most exciting thing to you about where Marvel Champions is and where Marvel Champions is going?
I mean, all of it.
That's
I'm
fair.
I'm just really excited to be on this team, to be working with Caleb and Molly and Joe and everybody on the Marvel Champions team. And I'm super excited for all of you to finally experience the thing that I spent so much time slaving over and working on and making perfect for you. I've been really glad to see all the excitement that has come from just the announcements, and I really look forward to seeing it out in the wild and what everybody thinks of all these heroes and scenarios.
Which, like, it's coming soon, right? I mean, we're what, 2 months away
It
from
feels like a
next
long
evolution.
time, but
It does.
soonish.
Yeah, soonish. Summer typically goes way faster than all the other seasons for some reason.
Yep.
It's the nice one. But so there will be previews and people playing it at Gen Con. So that's kind of, I think, the first time is going to be out in the wild for public to play. Will you be there?
I will be at Gen Con, yeah. So if anybody wants to say hi, I'm always happy to meet the fans.
Awesome. And I assume you, I don't know if you know any, but I, like, last year we got to play the first scenario, and there is a, I don't know if there are tickets left. So sorry if I'm announcing this to you and there's no option to do it, but there is kind of a sneak preview of next evolution at Gen Con, which I am very much looking forward to. Oh my goodness, I'm ready. I'm so ready
Yeah.
for new scenarios. They all look really unique and fun, and I'm excited for that. Is there anything that you wanted to plug or talk about before we go into closing?
No, I'm just really excited. I want to thank all the fans and all the content creators for just letting us keep this game going, making it so exciting, and just it's a pleasure to be on this team. And thank you so much for having me on your channel, Nelson.
Well, thank you so very much for coming on. Thanks for designing this awesome game. I mean, like, I tried to log everything that I played, and I'm hundreds and hundreds of hours in at this point. So
Yeah.
with only going up from here, and so I'm really excited for the new content. I'm really excited that you have joined the team. I really enjoyed Mojo, and so I'm excited to see some more of your designs in the game. But thank you for coming on, Tony. I hope to talk to you again at some point, at least at Gen Con. At least at Gen Con,
Yeah,
we'll do that,
definitely.
and maybe we'll have another interview.
That'd be awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. I'll see you around. Peace.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.